March 4th, 2025, primary election day in the city of St. Louis. Out of 4 candidates for mayor, which 2 will go on to April's general election to try to convince voters why they should lead St. Louis for the next 4 years?
When I became mayor, we were in crisis mode. Crime was at an all-time high. Our jail was literally on fire. We were in a hiring freeze.
I'm running for mayor because at the end of the day, St. Louis can do better. My vision for the city of St. Louis looks like a city where our downtown is flourishing, where our riverfront is bustling. It also looks like a city where our citizens trust that the city has its back. A city where potholes get filled. A city where your trash gets picked up. A city where being incarcerated, waiting for trial, isn't a death sentence.
I'm running for mayor to make this city more fair for everyone. We can all think about the different times our city government has not been fair to every one of its citizens in the past years. And I think it's unfair that one kid gets to ride their bike around their neighborhood while another kid has to stay home because their neighborhood is unsafe.
I'm offering change. St. Louis is absolutely wonderful because we have all the ways. We have the airways, the waterways, the highways, and the railways.
Also on the ballot, the race for comptroller. Incumbent Darlene Green, who's held the office for 3 decades, is being challenged by former Alderwoman Donna Behringer and CPA Celeste Metcalf. And voters in the city's 3rd and 11th wards decide who should face off next month to represent them for the next 4 years.
The lack of urgency in delivering basic city services to our residents is inexcusable. We don't have 4 more years to wait.
If people love an underdog, then yes, I'm your guy.
We can change this thing, but it needs someone who's dedicated and committed to changing.
People who've never run anything think they can change everything. I am not the one that's going to quit when the going gets tough.
Decision 2025, the St. Louis municipal election. Live coverage begins now.
And welcome to primary night in St. Louis. I'm Mark Maxwell, political editor at KSDK, 5 on your side. Thank you for joining us on 5+, where you can always watch for free. We're the only station in town bringing you live up-to-the-minute results in this decisive race for mayor, for comptroller. And tonight, 2 ward races also on the ballot in this unique style of voting, approval voting, where the most popular candidates, the top 2 in any of those races, will emerge to face off in that April 8 runoff in just a bit. We've got reporters across the city ready to bring you results. Brent Solomon coming up in just a minute, but first I can tell you we have new results in tonight from the early voters, the absentee voters who cast their ballots in the last 2 weeks. And we have a clear and decisive front-runner in the race for mayor. Kara Spencer away with 72.4% of the early vote totals. Keep in mind, a long way to go. 72% of the early voters, though, said she could do this job. We've also got Tashara Jones at 26%. We've got Michael Butler at 25%. Those 2 neck and neck in the early vote totals for that second place spot to go on. Andrew Jones coming in at 13%, a distant 4th place. In about a half an hour to an hour or so, we expect we could get more results from the election board. That is right now where our Brent Solomon is standing by, ready to bring us behind the scenes and show us how some of the vote counting is taking place. I'm going to toss it over to Brent Solomon, who's going to take you behind the scenes and show you how we trust what's in these numbers. Take it away, Brent.
The room where all the magic happens. Of course, this is the Board of Elections office in downtown St. Louis, and this really is game time right now. All of the workers here and volunteers pouring into the building here at Olive and Tucker with security on premises, of course. Let me explain to you what's happening right now. If you're not very familiar, of course, you probably went to the polls today. You placed your vote for your candidates of choice. What happens at that point? Once the lines close, once the specific precinct closes, after everyone has had an opportunity to vote, officials from that precinct then deliver the results here. The results then have to be tabulated and certified by the Board of Elections Commissioners. This is a process that they take very seriously to protect your vote and to make sure that every voice counts. Again, over my shoulder right now, you can see a lot of that work happening right now. We will be here through the evening. Of course, we got some of the absentee numbers in already. We still got a little bit of time until we get all of the numbers from the precinct. So stay tuned for that. But for now, that is the very latest downtown. Mark, let's go ahead and send it back to you.
All right, we are here at the Mayor Jones watch party tonight at the Laborers Local 42 in Midtown, where some unions and some other supporters are starting to gather, filling in the room behind me. They've got pizza. Let's see, I think it's Domino's pizza. Yeah, it looks like it is. And some soda and things on standby as the room starts to fill out here. We're going to bring you results, speeches, and some interviews all throughout the night as our reporters continue to be spread around the city. We're going to get to the mayor's race in just a moment. I want to give you some more updates in the race for comptroller. Donna Berenger, the former state rep, is right now with 54% of approval in the city so far, leading incumbent Darlene Green and her 42% in approval. Those two candidates are the clear frontrunners in the early vote totals. The absentee votes, Celeste Metcalf coming in at 20%, a distant third. She had a hard time getting her name out there. Lesser known, she hadn't really run before, hadn't been elected before. So Celeste Metcalf, all three of those candidates, you watch them here on 5+ if you watch the record each of these last 2 weeks. That's where things stand in the race for comptroller. We're going to check into the mayor's race in just a minute again and keep you updated. But real quick update, 2 incumbent aldermen, one Shane Cohn in South City's 3rd Ward, and Alderwoman Laura Keyes in North City's 11th Ward, both with commanding leads. One of their 2 challengers will advance with them to a runoff in April 8th, so anything's possible, but they have to be feeling pretty good about their chances because in both cases they have a majority of support from more than a majority of the voters there. So a quick update, Shane Cohn, Laura Keyes, at least from the early vote totals, appear to be in prime position to advance tonight. We'll wait and see how the rest of these results come in. Let's check back in with the big race that everyone's watching tonight. That's the race for mayor. Mayor Tashara Jones, her re-election bid, the first time she's facing voters as an incumbent mayor. Well, her hopes and dreams of the future of this city are on the line tonight because if she does not finish in the top 2, she would be knocked out. We're going to wait and see. Right now, she is in second, but not by much. She has 25.8%, we'll call it 26% of the early vote. But right behind her, with 24.97%, we'll call it 25%, Michael Butler, the recorder of deeds, showing a strong showing here. This number also has to be giving. Kara Spencer has the support of 72% of people who voted early. In the last 2 weeks, nearly 3 in 4 people that came and cast an early ballot said they wouldn't mind if Kara Spencer was their mayor. That's going to be a hard number to beat come April 8th. But we've got 5 weeks between now and then. So let's check in with Mayor Jones earlier today, who talked about progressive values, trying to stake out the left flank in what she hopes can be kind of a left versus right. She's got a candidate like Kara Spencer who's challenging her, saying that many of their views and values are much the same. Spencer's argument is that she'll just execute them differently. Mayor Jones is trying to still tack to her left. That's a bit of her strategy. You'll see that in her comment, her interview with us earlier today at the polls.
You know, our progressive values are the things that move this country forward. We are looking out for everyday people and trying to make sure that they have access to opportunity no matter where they live, that their zip code doesn't determine their opportunity. And so, yes, it's very important. And I am the last of the Mohicans, I would say, because we lost Corey and Kim decided to resign, and it's also important to hold on to power in a way that that person that you're voting for is going to represent interests of people who can't speak for themselves.
And that's Mayor Jones again at the polls just earlier today. Again, a lot of supporters of hers are gathering here at this Laborers Local 42, where they expect to hope to hear a victory speech from her tonight, where she can advance to this general. But across town, closer to downtown, is our Laura Barczewski, who's standing by right now at the Kara Spencer watch party. They're calling that a victory party, and right now, at least from the early vote totals, they have to feel good about their chances. Let's toss it over and check in with Laura Barczewski across town. Laura?
We're here at the Post building on Tucker for Kara Spencer's watch party. Everybody's starting to pour in, and earlier today I caught up with her as she was going to the different polling places and actually knocking on doors to get out the vote. As I said, lots of people are pouring into the place here, and I don't think many of them know about these absentee numbers that we've been talking about, saying that she has about 72% of the votes, 25% for Tashara Jones. And this election is a rematch for Alderwoman Kara Spencer and Mayor Tashara Jones. Mayor Jones won the last election with a little more than 51% of the vote. And today, Spencer tells me she's feeling optimistic about those results. But the turnout today, it seems slower than normal as she was out at the polling places. She ran her campaign on things including transparency, safety, and building up city services. Her slogan this campaign was "St. Louis can do better." She says as a lifelong St. Louisan, she believes she's the right person for the job, and she's now been in politics for about 10 years. She pledges to work for everyone, no matter who they voted for.
We feel very hopeful about the future. We know that if the city can get the basics right, the sky is the limit, and we are thinking bigger than just the basics, but understanding that those are, of course, critical.
We're going to hear more from her in just a little bit. We're hoping to do a live interview with her, which we will bring you as soon as we can. She's also planning to address her supporters here tonight at the Post building. We'll bring you all those updates as we get them. Back to you, Mark.
And we're back here at the Laborers Local Chapter 42, where the Mayor Jones campaign is gathering. They're watching the 5+ stream live here in this room here, so they're seeing the results come in as you're watching them from home. People are starting to digest what these early vote totals mean. Let me give you a quick glimpse at just how close this fight for second is between Mayor Jones and challenger Michael Butler, the Recorder of Deeds. In those early vote totals, the absentee votes cast in the first 2 weeks leading up to today, just 80 votes separate Michael Butler from Tashara Jones. 80 votes. That's how close this could be. As voters went into the polls today, what was on their mind? Were they thinking about change? Were they thinking about, well, let's stick with the incumbent mayor? Those are all the things that we're going to learn here in the next half hour or so as we stay tuned and watch these results come in. But let's check in with a quick interview we had with Michael Butler yesterday as I was asking him, could you pull off this upset against an unpopular incumbent? Looking at the polling, it certainly suggests that the incumbent has some headwinds that she's fighting against. And we asked him about his strategy. Take a listen to Michael Butler just yesterday meeting voters in South City.
We think that we are in at least the top two, and there's still a chance we can be first place today.
They call tomorrow the only poll that matters. First place, Kara's got 51. You can get that high?
Oh, I think the polling is not taking in quite a few voters, and we're hearing something different on the ground.
All right, so let's take a look at this and let's look forward. Look, we got a long way to go before this full cake is baked. We have to see how voters decided today. It could be that the power of the incumbency still is there. There's still some shine that helps separate Tashara Jones from her third place challenger, who's right now nipping on her heels, Michael Butler. Maybe she pulls ahead. And if you're looking forward, you're like, well, what does the next 5 weeks have in store? This would be a rematch, and certainly you'd have to consider Kara Spencer the front runner at this stage. But the mayor has made it clear she's going to put a lot of pressure on Kara Spencer if she survives tonight and scrutinize her record. We're probably going to see some attack ads. We're going to see a real campaign come forward if Mayor Jones emerges. If Michael Butler does, it completely changes the dynamic. There's no longer voters that are angry against the current administration. And keep in mind, that's something people in this room are also sensitive to. Everywhere around the country, even around the world, voters are voting against people in power right now. You've got inflation, you've got an unease about the direction of things, and so voters are just sort of tending to vote against the people in power tonight. That's part of the storyline, perhaps. We're going to be live with you all night, up to the minute, bringing you results. When we sign off of this live feed here, you'll be able to see those results stream across your page here, and we'll check back in with you. The one other reporter who we haven't brought you yet, he's also preparing to bring you live reports from the campaign for Michael Butler. That's Robert Townsend. He's there now. You've got Brent Solomon down at the elections board downtown. Laura Barczewski's at Kara Spencer. And of course, at 10 o'clock or as soon as the president's speech to Congress wraps up tonight, you'll also be able to hear us at 10 o'clock on TV over the air, the broadcast that you've come to expect on 5 on Your Side. We'll be here with you with victory speeches, concession speeches, interviews, all of that. It's primary night in St. Louis. Signing off for now. And back in a few minutes, political editor Mark Maxwell for 5 on Your Side.
As we continue to focus on the minor severe threat that we've had, which I think is kind of winding away, and transition into the fact that it's windy and it's going to be snowing in the morning in some cases. And that's what I want to look at here. Let's talk about what the storm threat is right now as we continue to focus on what's going on the next several hours. What I do want to look at right now is temperatures. And you can see that we're holding steady still versus when I last saw you with 53 degrees. Our temperatures haven't changed a whole lot. You'll notice they are colder on the other side of the state. And that's what's starting to settle in. You'll notice that over the next several hours. Let me show you a live image of our radar here, because as we continue to focus on a couple of things right now, you'll notice that we're kind of in that lull period. There were a couple of areas that if you've been following along, that I thought, this would be our best area for redevelopment to the south and southwest, and we don't have that quite as much. First and foremost, we're under no watches or warnings of any kind at this point, but I want to show you where the centralized low pressure has been. And this, as it continues to track its way across the state, is right now centered here, and that's the reason for it. We're on one side of it right now, where this low is sitting right about here, and let me move this specifically. It's right here. We're still on the warm side of things right now. This is where we continue to see. We're on the warm side of it right now, and that's what we're going to transition to this cold side of it tomorrow. So that's how big this low is. If you have aches and pains, it's probably because this low is in the 980s. It is a very strong area of low pressure, and that's why you're starting to see those changes. I do want to look ahead at, like I mentioned, that area to the south. This is the greatest area of instability. It is winding down a little bit. And as we continue to focus and I switch different radar products, you can see there were a couple of spots that I looked at earlier, even as this goes back and forth from St. Louis radar to Springfield. That's why you're going to see the difference in reflectivity, which is where you look at that more pronounced yellow, orange, and red in some cases. We had some small hail earlier. We don't quite have that. And I do think that over the next several hours, we're not going to see much. In fact, looking at the most recent stuff, there's not much in the way of too much strength, right? There's a couple of areas where maybe there's some pea-sized hail in Otterville, but like I said, that's not our problem, right? So, as we look to the south, this is an area, if we were going to have something, if it was going to move up, and let me just loop this the last 30 minutes, this was going to move up and hold together, then perhaps it would create some severe weather if it ran into the right circumstances, and I just don't think that it will, right? I think there are a couple of spots where we might see some pea-sized hail from these, but in general, they're not all that impressive. Even as we dissect this from a standpoint of a severe weather standpoint, where if I wanted to look at what this is and how high it is, you can probably see where the hail core is going to be. These storms are not all that high, and in comparison to where we are, sometimes in the summertime where they get over 40,000 feet, we just don't have that, right? So there's not much in the way that I'm really impressed with over the next several hours. I will show you, though, ahead, and like I said, this whole system is settling in here. This was our rain earlier. This is where we have that lull period. If we have a couple of those storms that move in, I could see them being, maybe a nuisance briefly, but they're just not all that impressive. Futurecast continues to pick up on that. I think we can just about end our severe threat, even though, it was barely there to begin with. The main focus I want to transition to now is the fact that it's going to be very windy, right? So if we were going to, we're talking about the wind right now. Let me pull this up for you here. It is going to be very windy. There's no doubt about that. And we're okay windy right now. We did have some wind gusts, like I said, of about 35 to 40 miles an hour throughout the day. Right now, they're somewhere between, 20 to 30, right? It's not as high as it's been. That's good news, in that standpoint. And I think that we're going to be in pretty good shape in that regard. So from a standpoint of wind, I do think that we're going to continue to see wind be a factor into the overnight hours to some degree. Now, I want you to watch this, because I do think wind is around, but watch over the next several hours. This is going to continue to work its way into the overnight hours is it's lagging on me when I try to move it. See, it moves too fast, right? So when we talk about it from this standpoint, look into the overnight hours as we continue to go right now, 11, 12 o'clock, not much. And then it's going to transition to the southwest. Now, as I pause this at 3:30 in the morning, 4 o'clock, you'll notice that the wind, kind of a lull period. The wind's still up, right? There's no doubt about it. But watch when we get closer to about 7 a.m. That wind transitions. So we go from that lull period where the wind becomes out of the west and northwest, and these sustained winds are 25 to 30 miles an hour. Significant wind at this point. And that's what I think is the big story for me tomorrow. So as we continue to talk about that and show you what's happening, I want to pause there because I think by tomorrow morning in terms of precipitation, we're going to see something that looks probably like this, where we have some pretty decent snow in some cases. In fact, this latest run of Futurecast tells me that maybe they want it to be a little colder, so that could accumulate a little bit more in the grassy surfaces. The story that I would have for the morning is the fact that our visibility is going to be down. If I want to just look at this at face value and talk about this, I do think that our visibility is going to be down. And I'm going to update one of our graphics here to show you our main weather impact is the visibility, I think, will be down at this point during the commute. We are going to see fat, wet snowflakes blowing around at 40 to 50 miles an hour. There's nothing great about that when it comes to be able to see. Just at face value, snow's going to be a nuisance, but that's going to be a problem, I think. Now, throughout the rest of the day, there will be snowflakes hanging around all the way through 1, 2, 3 o'clock, and then eventually it ends. But, the snow combined with the fact that it's still, windy. I mean, even as I've got this into the afternoon, watch this wind pick up. You've got gusts that are projected to be 50 miles an hour. We've got a steady wind out of the north, or out of the west-northwest at about 30 plus miles an hour. This continues. Look at this. I mean, you're talking about this stuff starting at 5 a.m. Watch this. 3 hours. Another 3 hours. So you've got this 6 hours of 30 plus mile an hour wind. It's 3 o'clock. We still have the same problem. It's 9 o'clock. Winds are settling down, right? So I think that's the thing that jumps out the most to me as I transition our weather impact alert to just Wednesday's wind. So let me just do this in real time for you because I want you to be able to see what we're expecting here. So I put now through Wednesday. Let's go ahead and just get rid of high wind. Let's get rid of thunderstorms because I'm not that concerned about thunderstorms. I want the main focus for me right now is high wind, right? And so this is what we're doing. We're going to edit this on the fly now through, let's call it now through 6 p.m. Wednesday, right? 6 p.m. Wednesday. That's where I really think that we're going to see that. I'm going to edit this. Like I said, we're moving this on the fly and through. Let's just do this through so it fits. I don't have to fix that. High wind, low visibility, right? I think that, to me, that's the biggest thing. Low visibility, high wind, low visibility. I'm going to put, it is a driving hazard. So, to me, that's what we're dealing with here at this point. As we continue to look at, what we're expecting, it's not out of the question there's going to be some downed trees. And so I put that here just because I think that we're going to deal with some issues here in regards to, the fact that it's going to be tough to see in some cases. So just I'm going to add extra time to this, extra time to this, and get alerts, extra time, extra drive time, because I really think that you need to worry about that. So let's put this on a full screen now. You can see, expect high wind through 6 p.m. on Wednesday. You need extra time to prepare for updates. It's not out of the question that we could run out of power in some cases just because of the nature of the way the wind is blowing. Now, it's not as bad as it is on the other side of the state, and that's what I want to talk about here as I put this back on, and I want to pull up some wind throughout the other side of the state. The wind is very significant in that regard. Let me pull up this one right here, and I think this is probably going to give us our best look at it. Let me change this to wind only, and I bet you I can do this pretty quickly here. Because I'm telling you what, the wind is the most significant thing. To me, is the fact that we're going to see some pretty significant wind. Let's find this wind gust, right? Wind speeds and gusts. does not like that particular thing. I could pull it up again. Let's see, that's a different one. Let me see, it's not that one. I know there's another one on here because I've done it before. That's what happens when we do this on the fly. It's more fun that way. But this one, oh, there we go. That's what I want. I want you to be able to see this wind because I think this is pretty crazy. Look at some of this wind right now. And I'll take the banner off here for a second so you can just see that. These are all wind speeds throughout the region. And just pointing this out from a standpoint of wind, I'll change this. I'll change this right now. We're going to do all this on the fly. Wind speed. I mean, this is the most significant thing for me is the fact that it is windy. And, you know, you have some pretty good wind right now. Let me change the color table to the one that we use more than anything. It's that one. And now we're going to change this. That's how we do things on the fly here, right? Current wind speeds. Wind speeds and gusts, right? I mean, this to me, this is, let me change that. Regional wind, right? So, I mean, look at this. I mean, you've got significant wind right here. That is, we got a northwest wind out of the gusting up to 32. It's 51 in Wichita. It's 54 in Lincoln. It's nearly 60 miles an hour in Omaha. That's what a severe thunderstorm is. You know, anytime you get 58 or greater, that's a severe thunderstorm, and this is just wind-driven, and then you add snow on top of it, and that's what they're dealing with. That's what the blizzard is. We had our first non-severe thunderstorm wind gust in St. Joe at about 58 miles an hour. So we're on the warm side of things, and that's what I want to point out. We're on the warm side of things. The wind is calmer, and as busy as it's been, we're going to catch this on the backside tomorrow. And so that's what I want to look at here as I exit that and talk about, you know, what's going on here. Now you think about what I just showed you in terms of wind. This is what we have to deal with tomorrow, right? They're getting that wind, but they're also getting this snow in Omaha. They're about ready to transition to snow here in Kansas City, Hiawatha, northern Missouri, you know, Tarkio, coming down I-29. It is impossible to drive. And that's where they have the blizzard warning. And, you know, I can show you why we have that blizzard warning, but I showed you, you know, a couple things. This is what we're going to have to deal with. And no, not a blizzard warning, but look at all the other things that we got to deal with. They have winter weather advisories. You know, they've got, you know, blizzard warning. We've got this wind advisory that is for those 40 to 55 mile an hour wind gusts that we're going to see all the way through 6 o'clock. So like I said, that's the thing for me I think we're going to have to deal with the most. And then you have this big area of a high wind warning, right? And then to the south, there's where all the severe weather is, right? It goes all the way from New Orleans to the Gulf, and that's the severe weather component of this, right? So we've kind of missed out on that, which I don't think anybody's complaining about, but it's just, you know, it's a really busy time for us when it comes to what this system brings. And it all has to do with the fact that, like I said, this center of low pressure that is incredibly strong, that you probably feel all of that, it's kind of centered right about here, right? So we're on the warm side of things, and like I mentioned, to the south, this is, you know, this was always going to be the better opportunity for severe weather. You're lining up with a lot of those, you know, so common often things that we have with big line of severe storms where some of them start to rotate and you get these tornado warnings embedded in that. I really think that you can go to bed not worrying about severe weather. I really don't. I think we're pretty much done with that here at this point, right? So there may be still a couple of these that may be a rumble of thunder or some pea-sized hail. I just don't think that that's going to be the problem for us the rest of the evening. So from a standpoint of the rest of the evening, let me change this to another hour ahead, and I'm going to change it to 9 so you can really see what's going on. We'll start this at 9 and go through the rest of the night. And, you know, still an impact alert into the overnight hours. Like I said, by 9 a.m., you're still dealing with, you know, temperatures falling from the 50s now with our last little chance for a couple of showers and storms to quieter conditions. Then it may rain again, and watch us go from the mid-40s to the 30s by tomorrow morning, and that's when it switches to snow. That's when I think it is going to be hard to see outside. You know, and even if, and I'm not sure how well this is going to look, so bear with me on this. I'll leave it on the radar for a second, but I want to find, we have an in-house model to kind of show you visibility, and I'd be interested to see what it says for tomorrow morning, simply because, you know, it's going to be labeled as fog futurecast, But I'm interested to see what this is going to say for tomorrow morning, just in terms of visibility, right? And it's doing kind of what I thought it would, because this is where I think we're going to have some issues in terms of the visibility. Watch us go under a half a mile in some cases, right? The wind is going to be blowing that snow around, right? And it's going to be at least knocking things down from a situational standpoint with under a mile of visibility in some cases, where we get some of those heavier snows, you know. And even as I'll loop this to a different, I've probably got it set for 24 hours, but let me change it to 18 just to be on the safe side. So you can really see, watch this go. There's a lot of spots that it goes down quite a bit, right? It goes, you know, it's pumping out, look, St. Louis 10 to a mile and a half, right? That's what you're going to have to deal with when it comes to some of these heavy bands of snow. While I don't think they'll accumulate, if they do, it's very brief. You know, for me, it's the fact that we're going to run into those issues on the backside of things where it's windy. And while it's not as strong, you're going to catch this backside where the snow is blowing around, these fat, wet snowflakes. You know, keep in mind, when I show you the temperatures again, they're barely at freezing. They're barely at freezing there, right? They're at 32 in Omaha, but, you know, there's still snow there, right? So that's what I'm interested in looking at. Now, I do want to show you the next 10 days here as I kind of leave you with what we're expecting the rest of the night, because things will improve quickly. That's the nice part about March is, yeah, it's not great tomorrow in a sense of 41 degrees, but Thursday, Friday, Saturday, better. Conditions are much better. I'll put this on a full screen so you can take a look at it here better on your phone or your TV, because I do think things are going to improve Saturday night into Sunday, mid-50s, low 60s. Look at Monday, Tuesday. We're in much, much better shape here. So things are improving. I do think that we're in pretty good shape overall, but like I said, we're going to watch out. The wind is my significant factor, and when you look at a timeline for tomorrow, for your impact alert on Wednesday, these are the two things I want you to pay attention to. We start out at 42, rain changes to snow, it's calm to start, the wind is going to start to roar, and once it picks up, it's with us. The afternoon, we got wet snowflakes, 40 to 50 mile an hour wind gusts. It gets colder, our temps fall closer to freezing by the evening. It will be a big difference. So think about that. I'll have another update at 10 o'clock on the air, but as for now, marinate on this and prepare for wind, gusts, and visibility to be your main problem in the morning. Give yourself a few extra minutes for your commutes, because while the roads, I think, will just be wet mainly, it's going to slow things down.
Welcome to primary night in St. Louis. I'm Mark Maxwell, the political editor at KSDK, 5 on your side. We're going to have a full broadcast report for you at 10 o'clock or just after President Trump finishes his address to Congress. But for now, on 5 Plus and the digital platforms, we can bring you live up-to-the-minute primary results. The final unofficial results from tonight's mayor's race primary are in. A rematch in the making. Mayor Jones survives a challenge. It was close at first. She pulls ahead. She will advance. Mayor Jones getting 33% of approval from voters in the city of St. Louis. Not far behind her, Recorder of Deeds Michael Butler with 25% support. Mayor Jones pulled ahead with people who came out to the polls today. She will advance to face off against the frontrunner in this race, Kara Spencer, who is across town at her downtown headquarters now. Kara Spencer earning 68% approval. More than 2 in 3 voters who came out today said Kara Spencer would make a good mayor. 68% for her, 33% for Tashara Jones, 25% for Michael Butler, and finishing in 4th, Andrew Jones with 15%. You'll see those results come across your screen. But for now, I want to send it over to Laura Barczewski, our reporter at Kara Spencer's campaign, who just moments ago and moments before these results came out, caught up with the front runner in this race, Kara Spencer. Take a listen.
We are here at Kara Spencer's watch party at the Post building off of Tucker, and she's very excited tonight. Tell me, how's it feeling seeing all of your supporters here with us?
It feels great. We've got a packed room, lots of new, old faces. You know, I've served in city government for 10 years now, so it's really fun to see people coming out of the woodworks, you know, just over the many years of being able to do so much for the city.
Tell me the top 3 things that you want people to know about that you would do if you're elected.
Well, we have talked a lot during this campaign about potholes, trash, snow removal. The basic city services are what we're going to focus on, and of course, public safety. But I want the city of St. Louis, I want the St. Louis region to know that that's not the goal. The goal here is so much bigger than the basic city services, but of course, we are going to focus on doing the basics, being the underpinning, you know, being the successful city that we all know we deserve and we can be.
And how are you feeling about the results so far? I understand we got a lot of early voting and absentee numbers coming in.
Well, the results are exciting. Certainly it looks good, but we never count our chickens, so to speak, but certainly the results look good so far.
And for somebody who did not vote for you tonight, but may vote for you on April 8th, what do you want them to know? Why would you want them to vote for you next time?
Well, I want them to know that if I'm elected mayor, we are going to fix the basic service delivery system so that every city resident can have their trash picked up, their potholes filled, the basics that we all as citizens pay into and deserve as residents of our great city.
Anything else that you wanted to say to the voters out there?
I'm just excited to be here. I'm excited to see so much support, and I'm excited to see the final results here tonight.
All right, thank you, Kara. I appreciate it. Reporting live in St. Louis, Laura Barczewski, 5 on your side.
All right, we're here just across town in the Midtown area at the Laborers Local Chapter 42. We may be hearing from incumbent Mayor Tashara Jones here in the next few minutes. We're not exactly sure when we'll hear from her. We're still getting a read of the room, and she and her campaign team are just now reassessing the results. But again, if you're just joining us, Kara Spencer and Mayor Jones will face off in an April 8th rematch. That race looks to be a significant favorite for Kara Spencer, where she right now has support from 68% of voters who bothered showing up in this primary, 33% for Tashara Jones. Again, some of those could have been crossover voters perhaps, but this a rematch from 4 years ago. Mayor Jones been in the job now, but let's check in if we can. I believe I'm told that we have our reporter Robert Townsend across town. We do have Robert Townsend standing by with Michael Butler, the candidate, the Recorder of Deeds, the former state representative who really tried to pull a campaign up by its bootstraps here, didn't have a lot of money behind his name, didn't have a lot of name ID starting out, but still finished with 25% approval rating. 1 in 4 voters in the city thought maybe he'd make a good mayor. Let's go across town and check in with Robert Townsend, standing by right now with Recorder of Deeds Michael Butler, who's learning the disappointing news that he will not advance beyond tonight.
Hey there, Mark. If you can hear me, we are here in the Central West End talking to the city's Recorder of Deeds. Michael Butler's here. How are you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling good.
Are you watching these numbers? What are
Absolutely. I'm more watching my friends, making sure they're having a good time. But yeah, we are, it's early in the night, and we've done this before. It's going to be about till about 9 o'clock, around 9 to 10 before we get the results all in.
So you're gearing up for a long night.
Oh, we're gearing up for a fun night, yes.
When
Yeah.
you talk about, if elected, the city's mayor, I mean, we've checked your website. We've talked to you previously about some of the issues that you want to tackle, including tackling the city's crime rate. What else would be on your agenda?
Reducing vacant housing is a big deal. So solving the biggest eyesore in our city and using Rand's money to do that. Of course, supporting our public schools is big as well, making sure our kids can have a good future. And lastly, bringing our city back to the basics, so improving our government city services.
Are you trying not to be affected by the numbers? The early numbers are showing you falling behind, but it's early.
Oh, the early numbers are showing me going ahead. These early numbers are better than all the polls people have shown. It's showing what we feel we've seen on the ground. The early in-person voting numbers are showing better than the people at home absentee voting, and we feel that we did better on the ground today than we did during early voting in person. So we're very happy by the early voting numbers showing us getting to the top 2 and making it to the final election.
You know, it was a low voter turnout for the last election, to only 20%. What do you think about the numbers?
I think the numbers reflect what the weather was today, and there was some bad weather, and I think that the April election is going to be much different.
Final outcome?
Final outcome will be in the final, and we can win in the April election.
Let me ask you this, because we got a little time here. Why should St. Louis voters put you in office, Michael?
Oh, they've seen the solutions that I bring to the city, and they've heard the things about the past, and they felt the past complaints from St. Louis city government, and they're ready for the future. And they know that Michael Butler as mayor is going to give them the solutions they need and give them the medicine that they need with our RAMS funding and our better government services to cure the ills of their neighborhoods.
They're ready for a change?
They're ready for a change. We've heard it all day on the polls today.
Michael, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Mark, we'll toss it back to you. Of course, we're here all night long, online and on the air. We'll send it back to you.
All right, thanks, Robert Townsend reporting. Of course, Laura Barczewski is over with Kara Spencer. Thanks to Robert Townsend, who's standing by there with Michael Butler. You heard from him there. It did not sound to my ear. This is a noisy room here, but perhaps you watching from home can hear that interview a bit better than I can. Did not sound to my ear like a concession just yet. Perhaps they're holding out for more. We should explain for a moment what unofficial results mean. There could always be a contest, or there could still be some straggling ballots that they're still waiting to get through the mail or whatever, but it looks pretty decisive here. 33% voting for Tashara Jones ahead of Michael Butler's 25%. That looks to be a clear and decisive second place finish for Mayor Jones. She will advance to face off against Kara Spencer. We're here now at Mayor Jones' campaign watch party, and what I want to do is play for you a little bit of an interview we had with Mayor Jones when she went to the polls earlier today. What you're going to see over the course of this next 5 weeks is a tug of war over the narrative. Stay the course or change who's in the driver's seat. Let's check in with Mayor Jones, who made her case that her dream, her vision for the future of St. Louis is worth it, and we should stick with it. That's what you're going to hear from her over these next 5 weeks. Take a listen.
Significant progress on crime, on public safety, on investing in our infrastructure, protecting people, protecting our children, and growing economic development and growing our city so we can expand opportunity for all, so it doesn't matter what zip code you live in, that you have access to opportunity anywhere you live.
And you're going to also hear a different message, an indictment from Kara Spencer. Yes, she's been the chair of the Budget and Public Services Committee. Yes, she's been the 8th Ward Alderman, representing a big portion of downtown and Lafayette Square and the riverfront and all that. But she feels that there needs to be a different executive at the helm, steering the ship of the city of St. Louis. And we heard a bit of her argument also earlier today as reporters caught up with her. Here's Kara Spencer.
Regardless of who you voted for, I mean, the city of St. Louis should be serving you, whether or not you know your politician, whether or not you know who is in office. We should be picking up your trash, filling your potholes. It shouldn't matter who you voted for, whether you voted or not. Our city should be serving our citizens better, and that's exactly what I'm going to focus on if I'm elected.
There you're hearing a sampling of the message, that we'll hear from Kara Spencer over these next 5 weeks. We also have more results for you that we will pull up and show you across the rest of the city. But for now, the big headline in this primary, we're only about 18% of registered voters showed up to vote in this primary. Look, only 2 of the city's 14 wards had active races, so that could depress turnout a little bit. Perhaps just the nasty nature of some of the attacks could also depress some of the turnout a little bit. But again, about 18% turnout among those voters. We saw that clear and decisive advantage. I'm going to read for you some of the results from the comptroller's race, another citywide race. Donna Berenger with 48% of the vote. And just behind her, finishing in second, is the incumbent comptroller right now, Darlene Green, with 46%. So it looks very clear that we will have a close and hotly contested race for comptroller. That's a powerful position, who runs the city's checkbook, who signs off on every contract, every dollar the city spends. So Donna Berenger and Darlene Green. Celeste Metcalf finishing in a distant third with 24%. I'm going to turn a look. We have a cardboard cutout of Mayor Jones. If you saw that from some supporters here, they're excited to see that rematch. There goes the cardboard cutout. Not the real Mayor Jones. We haven't seen the real Mayor Jones. We're still standing by to hear from her and bring you her speech in a moment. But there again, that's the comptroller's breakdown. Let's take a look real quick at the South City ward race in Ward 3, where it looks like Shane Cohn, he will emerge against Dallas Adams. 56% Shane Cohn, 42 Dallas Adams, finishing in third and not advancing as Inez Bordeaux, who campaigned on closing the workhouse. There goes, we have some delayed cheers, some delayed reaction as the 5+ screen comes on here in the campaign watch party, about 30 seconds behind, but you're seeing and hearing some of that reaction live now. So again, Shane Cohn will advance to face off with Dallas Adams in the 3rd ward. And in North City, Laura Keyes has a commanding lead with 63%. She will face off against Rebecca McLeod, finishing 3rd, and not advancing tonight, Melinda Long, with just 11 or 12% of the vote. So what we're going to do here after bringing you these results is we're going to log off of this live shot for a moment, and we're going to plug back in to make sure we can bring you the feed and the speeches from Mayor Jones, who could come back and join us at any point. But keep in mind, at 10 o'clock, or as soon as 5 on Your Side's TV broadcast comes to you after President Trump finishes his speech to Congress, we'll have a full newscast for you, bringing you coverage from all across the city. Laura Barczewski with Kara Spencer, Brent Solomon downtown at the Elections Board, Robert Townsend with Michael Butler, and we'll hear the full picture of where this race is really setting in and going from here. But again, the big storyline tonight, Kara Spencer, far and away the front runner in this primary so far, and the incumbent mayor in quite a hole as she looks to dig her way back into 4 more years over the next 5 weeks here. So a lot way to go. For now, Mark Maxwell, the political editor here at 5 on Your Side, will sign it off and send it back to our 5+ feed. You'll see these results continue to rotate, but stick with us all night as we bring you more coverage and instant reaction from the candidates themselves in just a few moments.
doing? First and foremost, I want to thank God. This doesn't happen without my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Second, I want to thank any of my family who are here. My big sister, cousin Tiffany. Where's my dad? Hey, Dad. My son would be here, but tomorrow the district quarterfinals and Cardinal Ritter is playing St. Louis University High, so he is probably at Wold Recreation Center putting some shots up. Also want to thank my staff and cabinet who are here. I see your beautiful faces out there. My team at Mo Political Consulting. And thank you to all of my friends, family, and volunteers. Thank you to everyone who came out today despite the rain to volunteer or vote or both. And I'm so grateful for all of you who made calls, canvassed, poll greeted, and reposted. This is our win. I'm not running for myself. This isn't about me. I'm running for all of us. All of us who love this city and who call it home and who know that we are the greatest city in the Midwest. From the north side to the south side, to Francis Park, to Fairgrounds Park, and everywhere in between, we all deserve to have a voice in government. To have our neighborhoods invested in, to send our kids out of the house and trust that they'll come home safely, and to be able to grow old in the place where we planted roots and not be priced out. See, my opponent says she wants to take us back to basics, but I say we're not going back. We've been working to improve all of the things that she talks about, and we can talk and walk and talk and chew gum at the same time. See, over the past 4 years, we've made strides in public safety, decreased juvenile shootings by 50%, improved our 911 response times, implemented the senior tax freeze to keep seniors in their homes. We paved over 400 potholes in the month of January alone. We've invested in Black communities that haven't seen investment in decades, resulting in the first business to be opened on Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard for the first time in 24 years. And you know what else, St. Louis? We're not done. We've come too far to stop halfway. And our communities are tired of seeing investment in half measures and politicians who only care when it's election season. St. Louis is and always has been my home, and I will never stop fighting to make sure that we continue to grow and thrive. So tonight, we rest, and tomorrow, we run it back. We will keep knocking doors, we will keep making phone calls, and we will keep calling out the lies and misinformation whenever and wherever we see it. And I need everyone here to commit right now to keep this energy going. We need you to knock doors, and if you can't do that, we need you to make phone calls. And if you can't do that, we need everybody to donate. We need you to come back out in 35 days and poll greet again at the polls. Can I count on you for that? See, this site cycle, we reached out to over 100,000 St. Louisans and had conversations with tens of thousands of people. We earned over 5,000 contributions with an average donation of less than $200, and all of that without the help of a single billionaire. Because my support doesn't come from the top 1%, and it never has. Right. I didn't get in elected office to help them. I did it for everyday people. The single mom who works multiple jobs to make ends meet. The college student who's just starting out on their own. The young families who are building their lives here. The older couple who wants to watch their grandbabies grow up in the same place they raised their children. The immigrant family that came here to St. Louis to start a new life after leaving a war-torn country. I do it for these people. Friends and family, I've worked so hard these past 4 years to lift up all St. Louisans, but especially those that our city has left behind. We've done more in 4 years than mayors before me had done in generations to fix the deep-rooted problems that are holding our city back. And why is my opponent trying to stop that work? Potholes. Yeah, right. See, I see and feel the potholes in our streets just like you do, and that's why we're repaving 30 miles of main roads this spring with more to come, and giving our employees raises to make our streets department and other departments stronger. But our city has problems that go a lot deeper than potholes. Right. Problems that I've been working tirelessly to pull up at those deep, deep-rooted problems. Problems that my opponent and her billionaire backers would never understand. And unless we come together to keep this work going, they're going to take us back, not just back to basics, but to a pattern of disengagement and disinvestment that has held our city back for far too long. That's right. How do I know that? Because dealing with the legacy of structural racism and redlining is hard work. And my opponent has shown time and time again that when the going gets tough, she gives up. She gets going. If I've learned one thing during my career, it's that people who've never managed anything think they can change everything. See, it's easy to spit game from the sidelines, but when push comes to shove, those people always show you who they are. When faced with a real problem or a tough decision, they don't show up, or they resign, or they vote present over 100 times. Wow. See, President Biden once said that setbacks are unavoidable, but quitting is unacceptable. And our city has faced so many challenges these last 4 years, from COVID to high crime. But I don't quit parts of my job when the going gets tough. I will never step away from doing the right thing because I might lose political points. I work with people I don't always agree with, and I fight to bring people together on the issues that matter, and I don't use fear to pull us apart. See, St. Louis deserves a mayor who will fight for its people, not special interests. You deserve a mayor who will stand up against those who will hurt or exploit us, not give up on her beliefs for a 6-figure check from a billionaire developer. And most certainly, St. Louis, you deserve a mayor who is unbowed, unbossed, and certainly unbought. This is about doing the work, and this is about change, and change is tough. But St. Louis, ladies and gentlemen, St. Louis is tougher. Let's show St. Louis together that we, as ordinary people, can keep moving forward, that we can stand up to the lies and that people tell on the internet, that we can make our voices heard and protect the people we care about. St. Louis, let's celebrate tonight, because tomorrow we got work to do. That's right. Thank you again. God bless all of you.
All right, you're hearing the applause now at the campaign headquarters, the watch party for Mayor Tashara Jones, who's just now stepping off the stage, I believe, greeting some of her supporters. And what you heard there was a battle cry. Mayor Jones really rallying her base here, some of her family, friends, campaign volunteers, and activists, and asking them to engage, to start showing their activism in a more vocal sense. And you heard several lines of attack. She sort of dinged Kara Spencer, the alderwoman who's been campaigning on fixing the potholes, by saying that the city's problems run much deeper than those potholes, as deep as many of them may be. She also pointed out that there is planned ARPA funding, federal funding, set aside to pay for many road repairs on those major throughways that run through and across the city of St. Louis. So she's sort of saying, if we bide our time, those fixes will come eventually. What you're going to hear from Kara Spencer, though, is that a lot of jobs are just unfilled. Those important city jobs, the workers it takes to do all that work, there aren't enough workers in them to do that work. So you're going to see that debate take place over the next several weeks. We're watching here in the room where campaign, looks like Mayor Jones is still meeting with supporters. Perhaps some reporters may talk to her. Let's take a quick look at some of the result totals again to bring you back to where this race stands. I'm going to show you this on the screen and compare this to the poll we saw earlier this week from Remington Research. Jimmy, let's take a look at Mayor Jones. If you can see her, there is a big poll in the way. Perhaps we can't see her, but a Remington poll this last week said Kara Spencer would get 51%. She ended up getting 68%. That was significantly higher than what we saw. But it said Tashara Jones had 34%. Tonight she got 33%, almost spot on. Michael Butler was polling at 24% coming into this, about 10 points down. He finished even about 8 points down with 25%, so outperforming the polls ever so slightly. And as Mayor Jones makes her way over here, I want to prepare for the fact that we may, I'm going to ask our photojournalist Jimmy Kruko here, do we have the chance to interview her? How would we, I just give her this mic here? We may try and see if she's available for, she's walking away here from the camera, so we may not get her. Perhaps we'll hear from her a bit later. But you just heard her speech there. Again, Mayor Jones finishing in second place, a distant second place, but you saw one of the strategies, you see these lights changing here, one of the strategies for Mayor Jones is to try and connect Kara Spencer to some of her billionaire donors. She said she didn't have any support from billionaires. We'll have to check on the net worth of Andy Taylor, the chairman of the board at Enterprise Holdings. Is he just a multimillionaire or a billionaire? He was backing Tashara Jones' campaign. He also might have had a check for Kara Spencer, maybe hedging his bets there. But look, I think you're going to see some real conversation about what does it take to bring St. Louis back. Mayor Jones and some of her supporters have said they need the big civic engagement from the billionaire philanthropists like Detroit has with Dan Gilbert. But now she's going to be entering this campaign mode where she hammers against them a little bit. So will voters call that into question? Will they tease out whether that's hypocrisy or not? How will Kara Spencer respond to these charges that she's here to serve the billionaire class? She's been saying she wants to see a St. Louis work for everyone, and that this administration has been only serving a few insiders, the wealthy and well-connected. So again, you're going to see a pretty personal, a pretty nasty fight emerge here over these next 5 weeks. Just 5 weeks from tonight, polls will close and we'll have a new answer on who will lead the city for these next 4 years. Again, but we're live at the Laborers Hall. I'm just going to survey the room again real quick. Looks like people are kind of pairing off and having conversations, some interviews and such. So what we'll do is we'll let you keep watching these results scroll through. Donna Berenger, comptroller candidate, getting just a few votes more than incumbent Darlene Green. That's a race to watch. Those two will emerge. Celeste Metcalf, the third challenger, will not. Shane Cohn and Dallas Adams in the 3rd Ward, they'll continue on to April 8th. Inez Bordeaux, the 3rd place challenger there, will not. And Laura Keyes, the alderwoman in the North Ward, the 11th Ward, she will advance alongside Rebecca McLeod, and Melinda Long will not. Those are the 4 races we're watching in this primary night in St. Louis. For now, we're going to send it back to the 5+ feed. You can continue to see these results, and we'll have a lot more for you on Channel 5 and right here on 5 on Your Side, online, the digital platforms, after this at 10 o'clock or as soon as our newscast begins when President Trump finishes and concludes his speech to Congress. For now, live in Midtown, Mark Maxwell, 5 on Your Side.